All right, we got breaking news out of Los Angeles. People who are enraged at the death of George Floyd have turned violent. Now, look, I know people don't want to hear this right now, but I'm not calling it a protest when it involves violence. That's a riot. All right, I want to show you the video of what's happening there. It's graphic, and you're going to see someone get injured, but apparently the guy you're going to see get hurt is awake and alert now. All right, the video from the scene shows it was a Black Lives Matter demonstration. And that's why you'll see, the white people there also smashing the back windows of a police cruiser with a skateboard. At one point, several people jumped onto the cruiser. That's how this guy fell off. He must have knocked himself out when he did. And he was motionless there for a while. The other cop car stops right next to him, obviously, to address the situation. He gets attacked by, it's a riot. It just is. I'm sorry. When you attack the police and you commit crimes and acts of violence. I know that Dr. King and others spoke about sometimes that a riot is the only voice of the voiceless, but it just changes the meaning of a moment. And even in Minneapolis, which was what that sparked that, this is there. And the police chief said, look, this matters. People have to come out. They have to show their outrage. They have to show their fear. They have to show their shock. This is the way to do that. I only see leverage lost in these situations when you become what you oppose, when you become anger without purpose, especially in a situation like this. I'll keep an eye on Minneapolis for you. And just so you know, we are working this case every day. We're not having it just fed to us. We haven't seen the body camera footage yet from the police. Now, they'll say this is an ongoing investigation. My counter argument to that is, you see those people out in the street? This isn't happening in a vacuum, okay? The court of public opinion matters in situations like this. This is not a vacuum. That video has to come out ASAP in all of these cases, okay? Why? Well, what have we seen? George Floyd pinned on the ground with an officer's knee on his neck for a long time, leading to his death. New surveillance video obtained by a nearby restaurant shows Floyd's initial point of contact with police. Now, here's my understanding of it. An officer escorts him out of an SUV, responding, according to police, to a supposed forgery in progress. That's what this was. This is what this started as. It wasn't a shootout. It wasn't a drug deal gone bad. It was a bad check. Once handcuffed, Floyd sits on the sidewalk. Moments later, he's escorted away, hands behind his back. The end of the video, it's unclear what happens. Maybe you tell better than I. But he appears to fall on the ground as they walk him toward the squad car. Watch. Right now. You see him go down? Now, I don't know if he hit his head or whatever there on the side of the vehicle. I don't know if he fell or he was pushed to the ground. The officers then have him back on his feet, and it's not clear at what point he was back on the ground again, as we see in the infamous video. What happened then and in the moments after? Video's all we have right now. They're the ones with the body cameras on. This is why they wear them. So until we get it, we have to work the story and get eyewitnesses, and we have one. Donald Williams. He says he was there calling on police to let Floyd up and watched as he was taken away in the ambulance. That is our witness. You just saw, this is him. This is our witness. So this is our proof that he was there, okay? He's here for his first TV interview. And Mr. Williams, I know that this is not a discussion that is easy for you to have. I know you don't feel completely safe having it. And I thank you for taking the opportunity to do it with us tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So please, from what we saw there, how did you come upon the scene and what was your initial take on what was happening?
Yeah, it's a lot for me to take in, but it was a really little average day to the corner store. Honestly, I was just really going to get something to drink from the store. I'm in the neighborhood, and I chose a Cub to go to. And once I approached the store, I seen 3 squad cars outside the store. I didn't really think too much of it. I live in the city. I'm from the city.
Right.
Things happen in the city. It's a lot of different things that happen, and the police got to do their job to protect everybody, and what not. That's what was going through my mind. So I was like, another day. So as I was getting out the car, I was just hearing a lot of noise and different motions of voices and at different tones, and when I was about to walk in the store, like my spirit just like kind of stopped me. It was like, maybe you shouldn't walk in the store. Maybe you should actually go over there and see what's going on. Because I usually just mind my business, unless I don't need to, and
What did you see?
as I was walking over there, I seen a couple of people were standing there first. I seen the squad car, and I seen one Asian officer, Tao, and I heard people vocally speaking to a individual about maybe you should you cooperate and you're okay now. Maybe they're gonna be able to let you up. And then I started hearing as I was walking another guy talking about he couldn't breathe and something about my stomach. So I've been working with the Minneapolis Police Department through Peachy Luce's, the clubs for the last 10 years. So once I walked up and then doing personal security, I just sat there and observed first to see what was going on, to see if it was, what was going on because I didn't know. And first thing I noticed was, I didn't know his name was at the time, but I think his name is Floyd, George
George
Floyd.
Floyd.
George Floyd, and he was actually, panting for his life, begging for, his forgiveness. Like I pretty much saying he's sorry, he gonna do the right things. He want to get up. His stomach's hurting. He can't breathe. His nose is hurting. And once I realized how the officer was on him, everything that he was describing to me was sounded like a
How
blood
was the
choke.
officer on him?
He had his knee, across his neck, so, and I'm not talking across the back of his neck. I'm saying across the blood part of his neck from here to here. So his knee wasn't from here to here, which is your spinal part. His knee was from here to here, which is your articles and your blood
Yeah, yeah.
choke, your veins and things like that. The things that cut your circulation off from your neck and your brain to your body part.
For how long do you think it was like that?
I got there at least 8 to 10 minutes because another witness walked up a little bit after me, and at this time you can hear my voice in the video explaining to this officer what he's doing, what he's capable of, and what they could not be doing at the moment.
What did anybody explain to you, or did anything make sense to you about why were they just sitting there with this guy with his knee on his neck and the officers around? Like, why did it take so long?
Well, see, like I said, I didn't know what was actually going on. So if you hear in the video, I actually asked him. I said, what's going on, officer? This is when I finally approached because the people said his blood coming out his nose, and I'm noticing it now. At the point, his eyes is turning a different color, and he's talking about his belly hurts, which is pretty much your last bowel movement in your life. And so that's when I started, pleading with the officers, and nobody else really. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 other people that really spoke up, about it. Me, another guy, and the lady off duty fire department
Did
lady.
they give you any explanation as to why they were keeping him there and why it was taking so long?
They said he was resisting arrest, and when he told me he was resisting arrest, I said, "Officer, he's not resisting arrest. You have your knee on him, and you have handcuffs on him. He is detained at this moment." Officer Todd proceeded to say, "Well, this is what drugs do to you, and that's not what drugs do to you. Drugs don't get you killed." By
Yeah,
cop.
yeah. Either way, they seem to have him well in control. And
Control, correct.
did you make any sense of why they didn't just pick him up and put him in the car and arrest him, which is what the job was?
Right. Yeah, I didn't make no sense of it. Like I said, I work with a lot of cops in Minneapolis. A lot of them could tell you I've trained Mr. Martial Arts for the last 10 years on the Greg Nelson. Like me as a little guy, like I was a rented door at Peachy Luce's. I'm able to secure and control someone, at 5'6", that's
Yeah.
6'10", 6'20", if you're using the right technique. And they technically was not using professional technique. They was
No,
using a
nobody
depth
is trained to put their knee on somebody's throat as a suppression technique. It's not part of a martial arts. It's not even allowed. Forget about fair fighting, but this is not what cops are supposed to do. And obviously, we know that too well now. But the part that makes the least sense, did any of the cops, did you hear them talking to each other about why they couldn't just move him and get him out of the situation?
Bro, they wanted to kill that man, bro. Like, I'm gonna be 100, bro. They didn't speak. They didn't say nothing. The views in his eyes, bro. The man that had his knee on his chest, bro. He knew what he was doing. His shimmies in my man's neck, bro. He knew what he was doing. It's just like having a jiu-jitsu choke. If I'm here, I'm shimmying, I'm shimmying, I'm shimmying, I'm shimmying, boom, my choke's on there. I told him it was a blood choke. He knew it was a blood choke. He looked at me when I said it. He put his head down. He did not make any more gestures. He did not say any other thing. And the two other cowards that was on the other side of the car, I didn't know nothing about. I didn't know about until I got videos in my social media and things like that. So they was intent to smother my man and kill my man. And I seen it. I seen it in his eyes. I seen it in his demeanor, and I seen it in their movement. And Officer Tao didn't partake in it, but he had control of what was going on the other side of that car for me not to see what was going on. Because the people that know me personally know how I am. And I'm very good. I'm a controlled athlete. I'm a controlled person. You know, I have different levels to who I am. And I show my controlledness out there in front of the world. I got letters, notes from multiple people that know me from growing up in the city that said I was the most controlled they ever seen in my life. As I'm seeing another man that looked like me, that feels like me, that got the same complexion as me, lose his life to another man that had no senseless. He had no feeling. He had no remorse. He had shit in him. He had no feeling. I don't even think he had a heart at that moment. And he's going to feel that for the rest of his life. Just like I'm going to hear my man say this. I can't breathe. I want my mama. And I'm coming to find out that this man who died 2 years on the day that his mom died, I'm a mama's boy, bro. Like, that shit hurts me deep down inside, bro. And, like, something needs to be done. Or something needs to be done.
I know this is hard for you, especially having been there, and that you wanted to help, and that you were afraid this was going to happen. And I know the police tried to get you out of there, and supposedly there is video of you showing restraint and just pushing hands away from you, but not engaging with the officer. And I know that's not easy in a situation like that.
It's not, man. Like I said, I'm a trained athlete, bro. I put my hands up because I didn't know what he was going to do next. Like, he doesn't understand I have multiple limbs. I could have did whatever I wanted to him, but I have to go to my own kids. I got a family. Like, you know, so much emotions running into my. Yeah, I was chosen for this. I don't even know why I was there, but shit, I guess I was chosen for this shit, bro. Like,
listen, these situations, as you said, growing up where you are, you've seen a lot of this. You've seen a lot of ugly situations and a lot of things that don't make sense. And hopefully, the only hope we can have here is that this is one too many, and that this gets the attention of justice that it deserves. I know there's been a lot of frustration in that city, and I know this is hard for you. I appreciate you telling the story. I appreciate you sharing your emotion. I'll check in with you right after the show and see how your head and your heart are. All right?
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, man. I just want to say something to my mom, my family, my dad, my parents for making me who I am. Give me the energy to do that. My teachers, my coaches, like my support system in general, the wrestling world, the MMA world, bro. Like, we need to make a change right here. We make it happen. As a wrestling community, we a family. As a mixed martial arts community, we a family. As a black community, as America, we a family. We got to make a change, bro. We all got to make a change.
You know what? You're right. I'm wrong. This is a community discussion. You're living it there. You're living the reality. You're a set of eyes on the situation. You saw the duration. Do me a favor. If it's not too painful for you, just stay with me a few more minutes, all right? Let me bring in the mayor, Jacob Fry, all right? Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us. Listen, I just respect him so much for relaying what he had to watch. You and I can only imagine what it's like to see something that, let alone the identification that someone like Mr. Williams has. There but for the grace go I. That is not a message you want in your African-American community. As you look at the circumstances right now, how are you seeing the due process of justice unfold here?
Well, we need to have honesty right now, and we need to have action. I mean, that video that was just referenced was hard. I mean, for 5 straight minutes, a white officer on our police department pressed his knee into the neck of a black man who was handcuffed, who was no threat, and was articulating very clearly how he was impacted, how his physical health was being damaged, and how he couldn't breathe. This is not an instance of 1 or 2 seconds where you're forced to make a split decision. This is like 5 minutes. It's 300 seconds. And in any one of those seconds, you could have decided just to stop. You could have decided to listen to community.
One of those officers could have told him to stop. I mean, I think one of the main questions for you to reconcile for your community is why did it take so long? Whatever their story is about how he was resisting arrest and they needed to do this because maybe, who knows? But the duration winds up destroying the rationale, Mr. Mayor. And have you been told anything about why they said they had to do this for so long and those other officers just sat there?
No, I have not heard anything. For the last 36 or 48 hours, I've been asking myself that core underlying question: why is the officer that killed George Floyd not in jail right now? And I can't answer that question. And because of that, that's why I called for the county attorney to charge the arresting officer earlier today. That's why we need to make sure that we are seeing justice for our Black community, justice for George Floyd, justice for our whole city. There have been so many people that have said, well, what do we need to do to start the healing? We can't start the healing until we stop the bleeding. And it is very real right now.
There's a meme going around, I saw it from D.L. Hughley's site, of it's not that racism is rising, it's that it's being seen. That these videos are showing us practices that just don't bear any explanation other than the most ugly explanation. And one of the reasons I kept Mr. Williams is you got a lot of guys like Williams in your community. I think that what he did deserves respect, weighing in a situation like that. You can often become caught up in it, on the wrong side of it pretty easily. And that's bravery and that's citizenship. What do you say to Mr. Williams and so many young Black men like him who hear this story and say, I could be next, that could have been me?
Well, first, I thank Mr. Williams for coming on this show, for speaking his truth. It is that kind of speech that we need right now. It was honest, it was forthright, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that he had to witness that just horrid act. And you pointed out something that is correct, Chris, which is, this is not just about this one instance. This is not just about that 5 minutes of time. We're talking about 400 years worth of this kind of racism. We're talking about 400 years worth of practices that this incident has stood on. And justice is the first step in this case, but it's not just about this case, and we still have a long way to go.
Mr. Williams, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody in America, I've been through this before, this is actually my second, multiple times actually being a Black male growing up in the city, Courtney back in high school when I was like 15 to 16, got killed over North Minneapolis, and my barber was actually filling me in on this. I'm like, man, how did I get involved in this? How much is this? Why am I a piece of this? It comes back when I was a kid, man. North Minneapolis killed an unarmed Black kid when I was a kid coming from the park, leaving a party. We about to miss curfew. We all running so we could get home. Our only fears weren't even our parents. Our fears was the police, Same with Courtney. He didn't even make it home that night because we seen the police. We didn't want to get called for curfew. They shot him in someone's backyard. So I've been through this already, And people was letting me know, this is why you here, bro. You got to speak the truth and let these people know the real truth about America, bro. We not really accepted, We got to make everybody unite, man. And Governor Fry, man, we have to see action, bro. We have to see action from North Minneapolis to South Minneapolis and Northeast all together. We need united from the police department to the fire department to the mixed martial arts schools. You should be making these officers. They should be trained in mixed martial arts on a regular basis.
Well, Williams makes a good.
Detain someone without a
Williams
gun
makes
or
a good point,
anything.
Mr.
That's
Mayor.
all I want to say.
Well, thank you very much. First of all. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, he makes a couple of good points there. One is this comes back to not just what's in people's hearts, but what's in their heads. You got to be trained in what to do and what not to do. And I don't know that that's what this situation is about, but we've certainly seen that play out in other ones. And transparency is really important too. It often takes way too long for people to see what happens in cases like this. Now, we're told that the body cam video exists. Is that your understanding as well? And if so, do you know anything about the status of its release?
Few pieces to comment on. First, you're right that this particular technique is not authorized in any form. It is not part of the training. We've got all sorts of training, from procedural justice training to implicit bias training to wellness training. Our chief Arredondo, who is a real leader in the Black community, but also a leader nationwide in chiefs for police departments, has been instilling these values. And this runs totally counter to everything we've been pushing for. One of the pieces that we pushed for was body cameras. When we came in, we were about 55% compliance and turning the body cameras on, and now there's like 95% compliance. That's the first step. The second step is to get them released. And we have laws at the state level that prevent the automatic release of body cameras, but I want to get them released as soon as is humanly possible. And that means at a point where it's not going to hinder the ultimate charging decision and the investigation that would lead to that charging decision. I've made very clear that I think that the arresting officer needs to be charged. That needs to happen. It's been an unprecedented move as far as I'm aware in our city or state, but there's all sorts of protocols and precedents that are like baked into the walls of City Hall that'll tell you that you shouldn't act, that you shouldn't do this, that you shouldn't speak out because there's something around the next corner. Well, you know what? Like, this is an instance where it needed to be said.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. And look, justice is fairness under law. There's got to be due process. But when it comes to truth, transparency is truth, and truth is trust from a community. And if they see what happened with their own eyes, they can judge it. And they'll know how it's judged by others as being fair or unfair. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Donald Williams.
Chris, let me say one more thing, if I could.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. A core duty of mine as mayor is also to keep the peace, and that duty doesn't go away during times of difficulty. In fact, it is even more important. And so I'm imploring our city, I'm imploring our community. This is on all of us, our police officers, on community of all of us right now, to keep the peace.
Right. And look, this needs to happen. People have to come into the streets. They have to voice their outrage. It is an echo of collective conscience. And people do know that when you turn to what you oppose and you become what you hate and you start committing crimes and you start becoming violent, you change that leverage. You change that dynamic. That said, it is easily understood how emotions often run high. Mr. Mayor, thank you for making that point. Mr. Williams, thank you for making all your points. Donald, God bless you. I hope your head and your heart settle in this situation, and I'll call you after the show and check on you. All right. Thank you both very much.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back. Thank you for being with me for that.